Good morning. Today I will apologize. I haven't been doing much in the garden. That's why I haven't been doing many videos, because I've been trying to catch up with firewood for the past few years. I've been struggling at the end of the winter trying to find some more dry firewood to get me through until the temperatures warmed up. And this year I said, forget it, I'm going to make sure I got enough. And I am pleased to say that I have, up to September the 1st, I caught up to where I wanted to be. And basically I need to cut 2 more trailer loads of wood by the middle of October, which I should be able to do that. And now I can get back and concentrate more on gardening. The mint is flowering. A lot of the oregano is going to seed already. And over here we have lilies a blooming. Now, in the last time, since the last garden tour, there was 2 came out down here and they're gone. We had some wind yesterday that blew the petals off, which are sitting over there. Grapes are coming along nicely. They don't get large, eh? I'll go up here and so we can see the other 2 lilies. Actually, one of them is faded, and there's the one that's fully open. And also, due to the reason of trying to catch up with firewood, there was places weeds were getting out of hand. I didn't get the lawnmower out yet to do this. And along here, as I said, there was places weeds were getting out of hand. And so I did a weeding blitz before I did this tour. Now, you see this vine here? I have one squash that was growing good. You've seen that one before. And then I come out to the second one, and it didn't grow, even though I know it was well pollinated. And the third one. And so what I'm thinking about doing with these vines, maybe it's our climate, I don't know, but so I know the first one is going to come. The second one, and after I pollinate the second flower, cut the vine. And then see if maybe that one will grow. Of course, it's too late now, but for next year on all of these type, do that. Cut it after the second flower is pollinated. There's quite a few tomatoes there, but I want to show you this one down here. Quite faciated one, but he's going to be a huge tomato. Now, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, they will be much meatier tomatoes because you've got several tomatoes fused together, and all the outside sides of the tomatoes is actually the inside of this one. And there's another one. There's another one down right here. It's not as big, but I thought there was one in further, but I can't see him. I'll go down the other side of the window here. This one, look at the bunches of tomatoes that are coming. I am well pleased with that. Tags, however, they didn't hold up, so I'm going to have to make better tags next year. Well, because I'm doing videos, of course, the first time I showed you these tomatoes, I told you what varieties they are, so I'll have to go back to that video and find out what that variety is. The rest of them have tomatoes on them. Some of them nice. But that's the most impressive variety back right there. And like I said, because tomatoes don't normally cross due to the way that they do pollinate, I'll save seed from that and grow them out again next year. I think I picked 3 zucchini so far. So I'm not getting overly abundance of zucchini, but I'm getting some. You don't see, this was very late setting fruit. And after yesterday, we had quite a bit of wind yesterday, so they should be setting fruit now. We do have some that are growing, you see. Throughout there's a few now, but I'm not impressed. Down in right here, you see those 2 down there. And this morning, I poked my in and I seen a couple more. Right there, there's actually 4 there, 5. So there's a nice truss of tomatoes there. I don't know, there might be some more. I'm hoping now when they turn red, see, I should be able to see them just by looking in among foliage. I haven't tried to pollinate any more of the squash. I did notice this morning though that there is one there that looks like it's been pollinated. If so, that was by the bees. The bush crop cucumber is growing right out through here now. You see, this is the bush crop cucumber. I don't know how much it's been growing in there. And there's a cucumber down there that I'm going to have to harvest today. Hopefully I don't miss any and they go over. Gonna swing around outside of this fence because it's coming along nicely, eh? Now I've harvested 5 cucumbers from the bush crop so far, and there's that one I showed you inside, and there's this one here that needs to be harvested today. Oh, here's another one that this is the one I was looking at. I don't think that one's quite ready. Oh, and I've been missing this one. This one's got to go. I took 2 cucumbers from the National Pickling, and there was only the 2 that I could see, unless there's one hiding inside again, but there's more growing. I mean, only 2 that I could see that was of harvestable size. It has grown. This is the National Pickling cucumber. See, right to the top of the fence. They grew very nicely. They can grow here. There was one year before, and I believe it was like back in 2016 or something, that I got a really good harvest of cucumbers. So it doesn't need the extra warm temperatures that we've been having the last few years. So it is one still on the go. Cucumbers, I'm going to have to get several places where I can space them out, because they can cross quite easily. So between that now, them planted side by side, there's a high possibility that if I let anything mature there, that it will be crossed anyway. So no good to try to save seed from that this year. You remember last year, so I bought what was supposed to be neon pumpkin. And when I planted the seeds out, the plants out, I put them basically all fairly close together, thinking they were all the one type, and I got several different kinds of pumpkin. So that ain't no neon pumpkin. Now, it looks like something's been chewing on it. I'm going to have to take that off. It's not going to continue growing. I just noticed that now. But it definitely ain't a neon pumpkin. We go over around here. Runts of tomatoes they're producing. And along with this one, this is a smaller type tomato. I thought there was one growing right here, but it doesn't look like it. Once again, that's not a neon pumpkin. Now this looks like what I would expect a neon pumpkin to look like, right? I showed you that one before. And now what's that? Your guess is as good as mine. All of these plants are supposed to be neon pumpkin because I took it from a neon pumpkin plant from last year. I was trying to pollinate them, hand pollinate them from male flowers from the same plant. But the pollinators were doing their job, obviously. And now I have pumpkins crossed a dozen different ways. Most of the volunteer tomato plants are flowering, eh? This is a common primrose is what this is. So you've never seen this one before here because this is the first year I got them to flower any since. So this is purple echinacea. I pollinated this one and it's gonna, looks like it might look like a neon pumpkin once it's grown. The wind knocked over some of the primrose yesterday. Another echinacea. I should have deadheaded these daisies, but because of the reason I mentioned. Let's walk along here. And I said that there was no potatoes going to come up in the last tour, but after I did the last tour, I had 3 come up just 2 or 3 days after the last tour. See, there's actually 3 there, so that's 4. And I put some more mulch on them, and these in here are coming along nicely, and I've mowed up some meadow and put more mulch over those. That's why this space is wider here now, because I was getting mulch for those potato plants. As I said, I did a weeding blitz and I got over to here, and this is a no-dig thing. Not happy with it. I could stick the fork in, but this is just a mass of roots. I'm going to have to dig it up, sift it out, get my plants out of it, and replant them to make a sensible bed. But I don't think this is the time of the year to do that, especially not with those elecampane. Early spring, so maybe late May, early June is probably when I will go over this entire bed, and I'm just going to have to dig everything up and replant the plants I want. I have to wait until the plants start growing so I know where they are, right? Now when you're talking about an area like this, you're underneath the big maple tree, you have no choice. You have to do a no-dig. And any annual plant you're planting can't have deep roots. You can't have, no root crop anyway. And just, you're growing in compost, basically. These cabbage never did try to head up out here. But notice how the slugs have all the bottom leaves eaten now. I was thinking something about that. And they do it with every cole crop. And I'm just wondering if you keep the Indian paintbrush, all of these, that's what the common name is around here. I'm just wondering if you keep the lower leaves trimmed from cole crops, does that help with reducing the slug pressure? Because I have seen several people with it, with the lower leaves trimmed, but I've never heard anybody say that that was the reason. The humidity of this year is really showing itself. See, this is a fungus, right? And it's because of the high humidity. Now this bush would be just fine, but that's the way it's showing up, and it'll drop its leaves and it'll grow back perfectly fine in the spring. But that's what that's from. The constant high humidity all year is getting us that black spot fungus is showing up in quite a few places. Don't know what the birds were looking for in there. They got some of the mulch pushed around, but that's the superior potatoes. This gooseberry lost all its leaves. Don't know why that is, so I'm not so sure about that thing. I should mow in around this birch. Got to get the grass down around that birch. But this tree here, I still don't know what it is. So when I was doing a little bit of extra mowing, I just mowed around it and left that standing there. And whenever I am able to key out what kind of a tree it is, then I'll decide whether I want it to grow there or not. You see, the wind yesterday blew this over. This is where the golden raspberries are, and needs a lot of TLC. But I'm looking at that plum tree there now, and it's looking nice. Just like I said, I got to keep the area cut down around it. They're just starting to open. I think they got a full month to give me seed, but I'm going to be collecting seed awfully late, or a lot later than I thought I would. Now, you see that this is the one I planted in the ground, male seaberry. The ones in the pots done much better. This one, see, there's 4 branches, 5 big branches on this one. And I'm wondering if I should come late in the fall, then put that one, take this one up again, and put that one down there, because it's growing much better. I've got a few yellow straight neck. Don't think there's any in there to harvest right yet, but there's a few more growing. And now, as far as the cross-pollination goes, the ones that I was calling Queensland Blue, they do seem to be coming back true to seed. All the plants that I've planted here as Queensland Blue, the pumpkins that are growing, or squash that are growing, does look like what was on the original plant. See, there's about the biggest one down there. Now in there, there's another one about the same size that the bees have pollinated. The wind really blew this back yesterday, but that is an advantage right now because I can come here and I can really show you what's growing here in the way of squash. You see this? This was 2 female flowers right together, just like the tomatoes do, and they fuse together. I don't know what to come of it, but right alongside it, it's 2 different plants now. And now I got this other squash that looks different. And there's another one starting in there. There's one growing over there, 2 growing over there. So there's a few squash growing there. Once again, the seed I took out of what I'm assuming was mashed potato squash, and I'm getting something different. Potatoes are starting to lie over. I didn't get to the store the middle of the month, and so I was coming out and digging a pound of potatoes a day, but I had to dig up like 2 plants to get a pound of potatoes, so that's not good. This is the russets, but I was saying that they don't seem to be growing as good as the other ones anyway. But I was at the store yesterday, so I won't see. They're not dead yet, so they have time to grow. So I'll just leave them now and for a while longer, get them to grow as much as possible. I'm still waiting for the flowers to die back on this lavender before I cut back the foliage. I'm gonna have to cut back the catnip again, but that's what I'm planning. I'm going to make another batch of herbal tea here now later today. See, it's September the 1st and midday. This is all in shade now. Got something interesting here. So you remember I told you I didn't think that one squash would have taken because I tried to pollinate it with a faded flower. Not only took, it's a fairly big squash. Not a vegetable marrow, but a fairly big squash nonetheless. And I have a second one growing over there. You see here once again, if you look down underneath, all the lower leaves are gone. That was the slugs that did that, not me. And I'm thinking if I take off those, then I wouldn't have got that. See, this was, well, this one was weaker. I've been checking to see, it's a soft head, whereas this one is much firmer. This one is not going yet. But if the slugs don't attack it, I'll probably get quite a firm head off this one. I'm probably going to have to take that one soft and salvage from it what I can. Now this is what I expect the mashed potato to be like. They're not big squash, right? They're just little round buddies like that. Now the other one that I showed you, this was a volunteer plant that I picked out of the compost and put over here. So I didn't know what it was anyway, and that's what it's growing like. And yeah, that's the space in the middle of that potato bed is because it's coming to that time now when the potatoes are starting to get soft and they're just flopping over. I got a couple down here. I thought I pollinated a flower here. But I'm not seeing the squash there right now. That's the shady plot right there. My makeshift support held the wind yesterday. I also got this so I was able to get in both sides of both aisles of the raspberry patch. I didn't pick as many as I did last year, but it was just, like I said, because I was trying to catch up on the firewood. Now I'm coming in here because remember the spots. Now the tree has dropped a lot of apples, but that would be expected anyway. Once again, I'm getting a lot of spots on the apples. Now it's not terrible for me. If I was selling apples, it would be terrible, but that's just surface. I can peel that off and then just take all the inside part, and looks like most of them is going to have to be peeled. But there's a lot of apples on that tree. Like I say, the ones on the floor is just on the ground. It's just because trees do that anyway. If they put on a big lot of apples, then it could drop like half of them before the season is out. Yeah, so like I said, there was places where the weeds were getting way out of hand, and I wasn't going to do a garden tour before I got something cleaned up. And I got to these pathways, and I sat down on my stool and I started to hand weed it, and I'm like, that ain't happening. It was just covered in weeds down here, and there's no way I was going to get them out by hand. So I had to take the hoop hole and do these pathways, and then I sat on my stool and done the beds by hand. Rutabaga's coming along nice. Out on this end, the beds, the beets are small, but when you get in a little further, I got a lot of big beets here. So that's going to be nice. You see, I forgot to pick up those 2 piles this morning. I'm getting the occasional strawberry to eat once again. I won't have any that goes in the house this year, but that's okay. I redid these 2 beds last year, so maybe I should have expected that anyway. These carrots are going to be big. So this is the self-sown ones from where we grew the carrot seed last year. And I have some volunteers over here. So remember, over in the shady plot, I just throw-sowed some lettuce, and I took up a shovel full of them, brought them over here, and I spread them out. Looks like they're all survived. See what they do now over September. Got some dry weather for the next week, so I think I might have to give them a watering each evening. But that's okay. Before we go down to the onions, let's go back over here. Those carrots are getting big. And remember the one that I showed you that was poking itself out of the ground? So now, I want to pull it up on camera. That is a nice carrot. And I've got a lot of those growing. One bed with a bunch of different things in it. Remember the volunteer tomatoes that didn't done very well? There's a little truss here. There's a better truss of tomatoes. Let's see if I can get you in there any sense. right there. And there's a few other truss of tomatoes growing there. So that's wonderful. They're a smaller type tomato. I'll decide on what I'm going to do with respect to saving seed. Now this squash, I have to save seed. Even if it's a good squash, I'm going to save seed. It's a bush type plant. And I got two big ones there and another big one over there. 3 very big squash on one plant. So if that squash is good, then saving seeds is a must. It can't have crossed with anything else, so it's a matter of, if it is a hybrid now, then just weeding out the genetics, keeping it by itself, and weeding out any unfavorable genetics as we go through the years. This bed is, it looks kind of weedy, eh? But it's not. I've weeded out most of the weeds. Cosmos are flowering. Three different colors. So the chamomile down there. I got the little squash. Then chickpeas and beans, amaranth. It's all throughout this bed. And you see the soldier beans are doing alright, even though there's not very many plants there. I will keep enough seed to have a full bed of plants next year. A lot of these onions that are tipped over now, did that in the wind yesterday. If I had trimmed the tops, maybe they wouldn't have tipped over and they would have gotten more time to grow. The only disappointment with them tipped over now is I wanted to show you with them upright this beautiful line of onions here. I mean, they're nice sized onions, and if I had to harvest everything now, I'd be happy with my onion harvest. But all of those are standing up, and still a few of the red ones. And they're coming along just beautifully. For the most part, I think I have these spaced out well enough that they can grow more. I don't think I have many. There's one right there where there's two together. I think that's the biggest one right there. I don't know why this space was here, but I guess that's just the way the wind blew the beans around. It's good though, because I can show you. You see how many pods is put on these? Now right through that entire bed it's like that. Black turtle beans, I'm going to have a lot of black turtle beans. So that's completely wonderful. Oh, and there's one squash over here that I didn't point out. Actually, no, I have to go down and point out two of them. There's this one that, I don't know if that's the way you're supposed to look or not. So I've got the one squash on that one, and I'll find out if that's the way it's supposed to look and whether or not it's fit for saving seed. This is the Jacob's cattle beans, as you know. But back to talking about the hybrid squash. That ain't no spaghetti squash. I don't know what that is. Hopefully it tastes good. That's all I can say. This is a mustard plant. I just decided to let that grow there. Hollyhock did flower, put on a couple of flowers, and there's a few more to go. But that's the sunny plot now from this side, this time of year. there. That's the garden tour for September the 1st. Hopefully you found that interesting. Leave me a comment and tell me what you think. And I'll see you in the next video.